Emily, the last thing my grandmother ever said to me was, "Sometimes, the biggest betrayals come wrapped in the prettiest packages, dear." I didn't understand what she meant then, but now, I do. My name is Emily, and last week, I watched my entire family steal my inheritance right from under my nose. I stood in Gran's Victorian house, the one she'd promised would be mine since I was 12, clutching the envelope she'd left me. The lawyer had just finished reading the will, and my mother's perfectly manicured hand was already reaching for the house keys. "Honey, you have to understand," Mom said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "The house needs so many repairs. We're just trying to protect you from that burden." Protect me? I stared at her, then at my father, who wouldn't meet my eyes. By selling it without telling me. My brother Lucas leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Come on, Em. You couldn't afford the property taxes anyway." The familiar scent of Gran's lavender sachets still lingered in the air. Just 3 weeks ago, we'd sat in her sunroom, sharing tea while she told stories about her youth. Now, here they all were, divvying up her life like vultures. "You can't do this," I said, my voice shaking. "Gran left it to me. It's in the will." "Actually," my sister Clara chimed in, "Mom and Dad have power of attorney. The sale's already gone through." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What sale?" "We found a lovely buyer," Mom said, smoothing her designer blouse. "He's offered well above market value. The papers are signed." My fingers tightened around Gran's envelope. I hadn't opened it yet. It had arrived by courier that morning with strict instructions to wait until after the will reading. "Get out," I whispered. "Don't be dramatic, Emily," Dad finally spoke up. "We're family." "Family?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Family doesn't do this. Get out of my grandmother's house now." They filed out. Mom paused at the door. "We're meeting the buyer tomorrow to hand over the keys. You should come. Make peace with it." Once alone, I sank onto Gran's favorite armchair and opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a small key. "My dearest Emily," it began, "if you're reading this, they've done exactly what I feared they would. But don't worry, I've left you something they don't know about. Something that will help you fight back. Check behind the loose brick in the garden wall, the one with the heart carved into it." I stood up, my heart pounding. Gran had always said the best revenge was served with patience and wisdom. Looks like she'd left me the recipe. The law office of Mia Thompson smelled like leather and coffee. I placed Gran's documents on her desk. The papers I'd found behind that garden brick had kept me up all night. "Well," Mia said, adjusting her glasses, "your grandmother was certainly thorough. Can they really sell the house without my consent?" She smiled, the kind of smile that made me sit up straighter. "That's the interesting part. Your grandmother added a specific clause to her will 6 months ago. The house can't be sold without your explicit written permission regardless of any power of attorney." "But Mom said the sale's already gone through." Mia leaned forward. "Which means someone forged your signature." My hands gripped the armrests. "What?" She pulled out a document. "This is supposedly your signature on the sale agreement." "But the date," she tapped the paper. "You were in Seattle that day, correct?" "Yes, for work. I have flight receipts." "Keep them handy. We're going to need them." Mia started typing on her computer. "The buyer, Edward Carter, is coming in today. He should know his purchase isn't valid. You really think we can stop this?" "Stop it? Emily, we can reverse it. And whoever forged your signature could face serious consequences." My phone buzzed, a text from Clara. "Mom's furious. You went to a lawyer? Says you're betraying the family." I showed Mia the message. She shook her head. Interesting how they define betrayal. A knock interrupted us. Edward Carter walked in, looking more worried than a legitimate buyer should. "Mr. Carter," Mia gestured to a chair, "please join us." "I assume this is about the house," he said, glancing at me. "Your mother assured me everything was in order." "My mother lied," I said flatly. "And I never signed those papers." His face paled. "What?" Mia slid the documents across her desk. "The sale requires Emily's consent. This signature, it's forged. She was in another state that day." Edward ran a hand through his hair. "They told me you'd agreed, that you just couldn't be there for the signing." "They told you wrong," I said. "That house means everything to me, my grandmother." "I know," he interrupted. "Your mother mentioned you were difficult about letting go, said you were too emotional about it." Something in his tone made me pause. "What else did they tell you?" He hesitated, then reached for his briefcase. "I think you should see these emails. Your family's been planning this for months. They were quite persistent about rushing the sale." As he laid out printed emails on Mia's desk, I saw Gran's words in my head again: "The biggest betrayals come wrapped in the prettiest packages." She'd known all along what they would try to do. The emails made me sick. Mom had been shopping the house around to buyers for months while Gran was still alive. "Your mother mentioned there might be resistance," Edward said, pointing to one particular message. "She said you were too attached to see the financial opportunity." Financial opportunity. I read the email's date. This was sent 2 days after Gran's funeral. Mia sorted through the papers. "Mr. Carter, would you be willing to make a formal statement about these communications?" "Yes," he nodded. I should have asked more questions when they insisted on rushing everything through. Something felt off. My phone buzzed again. Lucas calling. I declined it. "There's more," Edward said quietly. "Your mother mentioned something about items in the house, valuable things your grandmother had hidden away." I remembered the key from Gran's letter hidden where she wouldn't say, just that they needed to secure the house quickly before I had a chance to. He trailed off. "Before I had a chance to, what?" "Find whatever it is your grandmother left for you." Mia gathered the emails into a folder. "This is excellent evidence of premeditation, Emily." We should. The office door burst open. Mom stood there, perfectly coiffed as always, with Clara hovering behind her. "Emily, what do you think you're doing?" Her voice was steel wrapped in silk. "Funny," I said. "I was about to ask you the same thing." I held up the forged document. "Care to explain this?" She barely glanced at it. "Edward, we had a deal." "A deal based on fraud," he replied, standing up. "I'm withdrawing my offer." Mom's composure cracked. "You can't do that. We've already allocated the funds." "Allocated?" I stood too. "You mean spent money you didn't have yet?" Clara stepped forward. Please. Mom and Dad need this for the business." "What about the business?" I demanded. Mom shot Clara a warning look. "That's enough, Emily. You're making a terrible mistake. That house is nothing but a burden." "Then why are you so desperate to sell it?" I pulled out Gran's letter. "What exactly are you afraid I'll find?" Her eyes fixed on the envelope for the first time. I saw real fear there. "Whatever you think you know," she said carefully, "you don't understand the whole picture." "Then explain it to me. What's hidden in that house that's worth forging my signature for?" The silence stretched. Finally, Mom turned to leave but paused at the door. "Some secrets," she said quietly, "should stay buried with the dead." As she left, Mia picked up her phone. "I'm calling in a favor. We need to get into that house tonight before they try anything else." Lucas cornered me in the parking lot as I left Mia's office. "You're making a huge mistake," he said, blocking my path to my car. Mom and Dad put everything they had into the steal. Everything they had or everything they stole. I shot back. He grabbed my arm. Listen to me. The family business is underwater. Dad made some bad investments. I yanked free. So that makes it okay to steal my inheritance. Your inheritance. He laughed bitterly. You were always her favorite. Every Sunday dinner, every holiday it was always about precious Emily. That's not true. No. Then why did she leave you the house? Why did she spend hours whispering secrets to you in that stupid sunroom while the rest of us watched from outside? A car door slammed nearby. Clara approached, her heels clicking on the asphalt. They're meeting tonight, she said, not meeting my eyes. At the Riverside Hotel. About the house. Lucas spun around. Clara, shut up. No, she crossed her arms. I'm done lying. Mom and Dad are planning something, something big. Why are you telling me this? She hesitated. Because I found something in Mom's office documents about Gran's estate that don't match what was in the will. Lucas stepped toward her. You had no right to go through those papers. And you had no right to forge our sister's signature, Clara shot back. I stared at my brother. You forged my signature. He at least had the decency to look ashamed. Mom said it was the only way. We needed the money fast before what? I demanded. Before the audit, Clara cut in. The business is being investigated for fraud. They needed clean money to cover their tracks. My phone buzzed. Mia texting, got the keys. Meet at the house in 30 minutes. I have to go, I said, pushing past Lucas. Nat, wait. Clara called. The meeting tonight, it's at 8, room 412. They don't know I know, but I heard Mom on the phone. Whatever they're planning, it's happening soon. Lucas grabbed her arm. You're going to regret this. No, she pulled away. I'm done being part of this mess. Gran wouldn't have wanted this. I looked at my siblings. Lucas, angry and defensive, Clara, finally showing her true colors. Thanks for telling me, Clara. But why now? She smiled sadly. Because Gran once told me that doing the right thing late is better than never doing it at all. As I drove away, I texted Mia, change of plans. We need to crash a meeting tonight and bring your phone to record everything. The pieces were finally falling into place. Whatever secrets that house held, I had a feeling we'd find them all tonight. Room 412 of the Riverside Hotel had a connecting door to 414, where Mia and I pressed our ears against the wall. Mom's voice came through clearly, thanks to the hotel's thin walls. The audit team arrives Monday, she was saying. If we don't have that money transferred by then, we're done. Kenneth, Dad, interrupted. But Emily's lawyer is causing problems. Then fix it, Griffin. We didn't spend 30 years building this business to watch it crumble because your mother decided to play favorites from beyond the grave. I started recording on my phone. What about the paintings? A new voice Edward asked. You promised there were valuable artworks hidden in the house. There are, Mom snapped. Martha, that conniving mother-in-law of mine, she had a collection. Insurance documents value them at over $2 million. My hand shook. Gran's art collection, she'd always told me they were priceless. And you're sure they're in the house? Edward asked. In the walls, Dad said. Behind the wooden panels in the sunroom. That's why we need to move fast. Mia scribbled on her notepad, insurance fraud. The audit team will find everything, Mom continued. The fake invoices, the offshore accounts. Martha knew that's why she changed her will at the end, why she left everything to Emily. She was protecting the art. Dad sighed. Making sure we couldn't get to it. Well, She failed, Mom's voice hardened. Once we get back in that house, a loud crack interrupted her. Clara had entered their room. Mom, Dad, what's going on? Clara, what are you doing here? I followed you. I heard everything. Honey, this doesn't concern you. Doesn't concern me? You're stealing from Gran's estate from Emily. We're protecting our family's legacy, Mom insisted. By committing fraud. Clara's voice cracked. By forging signatures and hiding artwork. Your father and I had no choice, Mom said. The business was failing. Because you were embezzling money. Clara shouted. Gran figured it out, didn't she? That's why she changed her will. Silence fell. Then Dad spoke quietly. How long have you known? Long enough. I found the real accounts, the ones you hide from the auditors. Gran didn't leave clues just for Emily. She left them for all of us to see who would do the right thing. Mia touched my arm, nodding toward the door. We had enough recorded. But I couldn't move, transfixed by my sister's words. I'm calling the police, Clara said firmly. Like hell you are. Mom snarled. Something crashed. Clara screamed, and suddenly, doing the right thing became a lot more urgent than family secrets. I burst through the connecting door just as Mom grabbed Clara's phone and smashed it against the wall. Get your hands off her! I shouted. Everyone froze. Dad stood by the window, pale and shaking. Edward backed toward the door. Mom still had Clara's arm in a death grip. Well, Mom said, eerily calm, the prodigal daughter joins us. Mia stepped in behind me, her phone clearly recording. I suggest you let her go, Kennedy, unless you'd like assault charges added to the fraud. Mom released Clara, who scrambled to my side. You recorded everything, she asked. Every word, I confirmed. The fraud, the embezzlement, the art theft, all of it. You don't understand, Dad pleaded. The business was failing. We needed to forge documents and hide evidence. I cut him off. Edward cleared his throat. I think it's time I made a full statement about my involvement. Mom whirled on him. You wouldn't dare. Actually, he pulled out his own phone. I've been recording too ever since you first approached me about rushing the sale. Something felt wrong, and now I know why. You're all making a terrible mistake, Mom said, but her perfect facade was cracking. Clara, I said, the paintings, are they stolen? They're not just valuable, Clara said. They're stolen. That's what Gran discovered. What Dad's been using the business to launder money from art theft for years. Gran found out when she discovered one of her paintings was a forgery. Dad sank into a chair. Martha confronted me 6 months ago. Said she had proof. That's when she changed her will. I realized when she added that clause about my consent, I said. She knew we'd try to sell the house once she was gone. She knew we'd need to get to those paintings before the audit, Mom said bitterly. Mia was already on her phone. Yes, Detective. Room 412 at the Riverside. We have multiple confessions recorded. Mom lunged for her, but I stepped between them. It's over, Mom. Gran gave me that house for a reason, to protect her legacy from people like you. People like me, she laughed hysterically. I built this family while she judged us all from her moral high ground. No, Clara said quietly. You destroyed this family. Gran was trying to save us. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Dad buried his face in his hands. Edward moved to block the door. The paintings, I said. Are they still in the house? Mom's silence was answer enough. I turned to Mia. We need to get there first. She nodded. I'll call for a warrant. As the sirens grew closer, I watched my parents' empire crumble, built on lies, destroyed by truth. Gran would have been proud. The police found the paintings exactly where Dad said they'd be, hidden behind the wooden panels in Gran's sunroom. 13 masterpieces, each worth a fortune, each tied to a different theft over the past decade. Your father's business was just a front, Detective Morris explained as we watched the art being carefully removed. High-end furniture imports provided the perfect cover for smuggling stolen artwork. Lucas showed up as they were loading the last painting. "What have you done, Em?" I turned to face him. "I'm not the one who turned Gran's house into a storage facility for stolen art." "They're going to prison," he said, his voice breaking. "Our parents are going to prison." Clara stepped forward. "They made their choice, Sully, just like you did when you forged Emily's signature." The detective perked up at that. "Is that an admission of forgery?" Lucas's face crumpled. "Mom said she promised no one would get hurt." "But people did get hurt," I said softly. "Gran spent her last month discovering her own son was a criminal. Her art collection was replaced with fakes. The business she helped build was a lie." Ms. Thompson, an evidence technician, called out, "We found something else." Mia joined us as they pulled out a metal box from behind the last panel. My heart jumped. It was the perfect size for the key Gran had left me. "That's private property," Lucas protested. "Actually," Mia smiled, "according to the will, everything in this house belongs to Emily." The key fit perfectly. Inside lay a leather-bound journal and a USB drive. "Your grandmother contacted me 6 months ago," Mia explained. "She'd been gathering evidence, documenting everything she knew. She knew they'd try to sell the house once she was gone." "Why didn't she go to the police?" Clara asked. "Because she wanted to give them a chance to come clean," I realized, remembering Gran's words about love and wisdom. "She was protecting us until the very end." Detective Morris reviewed the journal's contents. "This is enough to put them away for a long time: art theft, money laundering, fraud." Lucas slumped against the wall. "I didn't know about any of this, I swear." "No," Clara said. "You just went along with it, like we all did until now." I opened Gran's journal to the last entry. Her familiar handwriting brought tears to my eyes. "My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, you've done what I couldn't: expose the truth while protecting what matters most. Our family's real legacy isn't the money or the art, but the courage to stand up for what's right. I'm so proud of you, my girl." As the police finished their work, Clara, Lucas, and I stood in the sunroom, watching the sunset through Gran's stained glass windows. Our family would never be the same, but maybe that was exactly what we needed. The morning sun streamed through Gran's freshly cleaned windows as I sipped tea from her favorite cup. Clara sat across from me in the sunroom while Lucas helped Edward carry in the last of the restored artwork. "The insurance company confirmed it," Mia said, reviewing documents at Gran's antique desk. "Once they verify the painting's authenticity, the recovery reward alone will be substantial." "I don't care about the money," I said. "I just want the art back where it belongs." Edward hung the final piece, a small impressionist garden scene, in its original spot. "Your grandmother had incredible taste," he said. "These aren't just valuable, they're beautiful. She always said art should be lived with, not locked away." Clara smiled, running her hand along the frame. Lucas cleared his throat. "Listen, Em, about everything, I know," I cut him off. "You're sorry. But sorry doesn't fix this." "No," he agreed. "But maybe this will help." He pulled out a stack of papers. "I'm testifying against Dad's business partners, all of them." Clara gasped. "Sully, those people are dangerous." "So is living with guilt," he said, setting the papers down. "Gran taught us better than this." The doorbell rang. Edward answered it and returned with Detective Morris. "Good news," she announced. "Your parents took the plea deal. They'll serve time, but their cooperation means we can take down the entire smuggling network." And the business being dissolved, Mia said. But the legitimate assets will be returned to the estate. The detective smiled. Your grandmother's legacy is safe now. I walked to the garden wall, touching the brick where I'd found Gran's letter. She knew this would happen, all of it. She knew we'd make the right choice eventually. Clara joined me. Even if it took some of us longer than others. Lucas picked up Gran's teacup, studying its delicate pattern. Remember how she used to say every broken thing has a story and every story has a lesson? I nodded. I finished. Edward and Mia started gathering their things. The house is officially yours now, Mia said. No more legal hurdles. What will you do with it? I looked around at the art on the walls, the sun catching the stained glass, the garden beyond, and at my siblings, broken but healing. Exactly what Gran wanted, I said. Make it a home again, a real one this time. Clara squeezed my hand. Lucas nodded, understanding. Later, as the evening light painted the sunroom in amber, I found one last note tucked inside Gran's journal. Remember, darling, revenge is sweet but redemption is sweeter. Some families break to become stronger. Love always, Gran. I closed the journal, smiling. She was right as always. The house wasn't just my inheritance. It was my chance to rebuild something better from the ruins of what we'd lost. And this time, we'd do it right.